who you refer to as the Space Latina. You're a space engineer. I love that. And you go out in the community and educate people, and hopefully we get more, right?
Yes, that's the plan. That was the motivation with the Space Latina is just having a resource out there. The kids are on social media, so we might as well target them and see if they have any questions and make ourselves available if they have any interest in STEM.
So I don't know if I read this correctly. You build spaceships.
Yes.
Oh, that's so cool. And how did your interest start?
Yeah, so my interest started when I was really small. Well, I'm I'm a petite person, but when I was very young. Um, so I grew up in Houston, Texas, so Space City. So everywhere you go, there's space themes in the restaurants, space themes, street names, space. We have Johnson Space Center, we have Space Center Houston. So from a young age, I had that very present. My dad has always been a space and NASA fan, so I had a little bit of that influence. And it was just something that I always enjoyed. I always wanted to learn more about. I think little kids, a lot of them, they want to be doctors or astronauts. So I think a lot of them like going out and looking at the moon, looking at the stars. I was one of them. I liked going out looking at the moon and stars. And especially, we would go on trips to where my family's from in El Salvador,
Mm.
and you could really see a lot of stars there. So I didn't see a lot of stars in Houston, but I did whenever we were on family trips to El Salvador, which is a lot more rural, the area that we were going.
Yeah, I was at the Grand Canyon, and
Yeah.
it happened to be a clear day, and we could see the Milky Way. It was just amazing. I
Oh,
was
that's
just in
beautiful.
awe. Well,
Yes.
I was thinking, I hope nobody, no coyote or lion comes to kill us, because we were out of nowhere. Like there was
Yeah.
nobody there. It was just so beautiful, and everybody needs to experience that, right? You can't go to the moon, but you can go to a clear place and just look up, and it's just like an amazing view, right?
Yes, yes. For anybody who lives in the city, take the time to go and drive out to somewhere in the countryside and yeah, just look up. And it's, I think it's very like life changing. And maybe that's me because I'm a space fan, but just like sitting there and thinking about like what's out there, like how many stars are in the sky, like stars have planets, how many planets are there? Like I think it's something that you can spend a lot of time thinking about.
It's a spiritual experience, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I recommend it too. It's just I've never been the same since then. And so, engineers sometimes go out into space. Do you plan on becoming an astronaut and heading out into space?
If given the opportunity, I would love to go to space, especially after, working on space vehicles. So I work on like the space capsule part, and I know the rigor that goes into all of the simulations and the analysis and the testing. So it makes me feel very confident with what we're doing. And I think it's a wonderful time now because there's also so much interest in space. It's not just NASA anymore. There's big companies that have put in a lot of money to get more people into space, to get more space technologies out there. So I think in our lifetime, there's a big possibility that we'll see a lot more private astronauts. There'll be the NASA astronauts, and there's going to be space tourism. So a lot more opportunity to make it out in space.
That's scary. Well, you see with the astronauts, the training they have to go through, and I was like, I wouldn't even make it past phase 1 because I have motion sickness. So
Oh, well, and see, and that's the other benefit, right, with the space tourism, because yeah, the astronaut training is very, very rigorous. It's a long process. They have to be in top physical and mental health. They spend a long time prepping for that. And then with some of the other missions, they're a few hours long or maybe a day or two long. So there's less prep work that goes into it.
yeah, well, William Shatner went into space, so I was like, if this 90-year-old plus guy, I think he's in his 90s, can do it, maybe I can.
Yeah, there was Wally Funk. She was the oldest person
Oh
that
yeah,
went on the Blue Origin
that's right.
capsule. So yeah,
There's hope.
there's
Um,
hope.
there's hope. So we're talking the Marvels today as a truck passes by. Sorry. Um, so have you seen the movie?
I haven't been able to see this new movie. I just saw the
Okay.
trailer, which I'm really excited about. It starts off with the space station, so that was
Uh,
perfect for me. I said, okay, here we go. Yeah, space station. This is real life.
yeah, so they, oftentimes in movies, they research. It's just not
Yeah.
fictional. They base some of the technology on like existing technology, and then, they fictionalize the rest.
Yeah.
So has anyone come to you looking to be a consultant on any of these movies yet? Would you like to consult on a movie?
I had never thought about that, but yeah, I would love to do that. Yeah, so I'm really excited to watch it and see. With some of the other movies, I like to have my own little critique of like, oh yeah, they did real good with that spacesuit, or like this, they could have updated that capsule. But yeah, so far what I saw from the trailer, it looked like a very beautiful space station. I'm pretty sure I saw an astronaut suit that looked pretty realistic. So I think the Marvels did a good job.
And I was just watching the first movie, Captain Marvel, on TV, and they go into space with ease. Her and Samuel L. Jackson. I was like, oh, one day it'll be that easy, where you just take off from Earth and you just go straight into space,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know about that part, but
Maybe not in our lifetime.
yeah, yeah. So a lot of times I think the technology is based off of like what we consider wild ideas. So even like talking to my dad, he was like, "Yeah, I remember like seeing this movie, and they were like talking into the phones, which is now like us Skyping or FaceTiming. So yeah, a lot of these ideas I think come sometimes from the movies, and then they become reality.
Yeah, the Star Trek original series has a flip phone.
Yeah.
Well, what are you excited about, to see in this movie? Because it does take mostly out in space, which is cool. Because I'm glad we're
Mhm.
leaving Earth. I am sick of Earth. We need to go into space for more of these, superhero stories. So, what are you excited to see in this movie? And what do you hope it
Yeah.
inspires other, especially women and kids watching?
Yeah, I think that in itself, just seeing movies that are about space always excite me. And then seeing that the leads of these movies are women. So they're like women in STEM. So we have an astronaut in Monica. We see Captain Marvel with her superpowers also out in space. And we also see Miss Marvel also using powers. And all of them, I think, have knowledge of STEM fields and science, and they talk about energy, they talk about photons, they talk about space technology. So I think it's really cool to be able to see that on the big screen, and so that little girls can go and see that, or not just little girls and little boys, they can see those things and say, "Hey, science is cool. I want to be part of it. How can I be part of it?"
And so, what is the number one thing you say tell kids in STEM um, to
Yeah.
motivate them?
I think the biggest thing for kids in STEM is that if it's something that you like, uh, go for it. It doesn't have to be cool for everybody. If you think it's cool, it is cool. And there's a lot of things that you can do. You can go and be engineers, you can be astronauts, you can learn about all these planets. There's so much left to know about space, about the universe. And really, there's room for all of us in space. So I think it's wonderful, and if you like it, definitely it's something that you should consider as a career when you grow up.
Yeah, I recently learned that you don't have to be this genius to
Yeah.
be an engineer and scientist. Because I always thought the same thing too. It's like, oh, you got to be a genius, a math genius, to kind of go into this field. And they told me like, no, it's not true. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, no, that's a common misconception. You don't have to be a math science genius. If it's something that you really like, something that I found very important was just the mentoring part of it.
Yeah.
Not every class is going to come easy. Maybe you're good at calculus, but you're not good at differential equations. But you can go to office hours, you can get mentors, you can ask for support and get better in these things. And sometimes the challenge makes it even more rewarding because you have to go through all these steps. And finally, when you're able to succeed in them, it means a lot more to you.
Well, I'm glad you're out there educating. I wish I had more mentors when I was a young kid because it was only like one direction, like a doctor, a lawyer, like
Mhm.
That was like one direction only. Nobody ever talked about like all these other opportunities, which is a big failure on the education part, you know? So I'm glad you're out there
Yeah.
educating people. All
Thanks.
right. Well,
Yeah,
thank you
yeah.
so
I
much.
think there's a lot of content creators now that I think they're doing a great job of educating the kids on what can be done. Like, what are all these other careers? Maybe you didn't even know what an engineer was. Maybe you don't even know that astronomers have jobs, but they do. So I think it's really important to get out there, yeah, and teach the new generations about what all is available to them.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Amazing job. I'm so happy you have a great job, and people should really focus on things that they like and cool things that they can make careers out of. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and just an invitation to everyone to go watch The Marvels out November 10th, and really get inspired by all of the things that they're doing in STEM.